We are going to learn for Mo Kushner's mother, Nechama ben Rameshi Yitzchak, on her yahrzeit. Her neshama should have an aliyah. She should be a Melitz Yosher, Melitza Yeshara, for her family, for all of us, and all of Klal Yisrael.
Amen.
Also, Rabbi say a very fine Staten Islander was in a terrible car accident this morning in Monticello, and he's also, for those that are in Deerfield, he's a fellow person in Deerfield, Jeff Miller. Jeff Miller, I heard he was medevac to Westchester. I did hear a little bit promising news that he did recognize his wife, Linda, so that's promising news. We are going to learn for him special Yosef Chaim ben Rivka. I assume they added the name Chaim. So Yosef Chaim ben Rivka, he should have a refuah shalema b'seich she'achel Yisrael. We are sponsored by Shalom Fogel, Lila Nishmas, Rabbi Yaakov Zev ben Yud Aryeh, Rivka Bas Yaakov, Tzivya Miriam Bas Gad, Yosef ben Zion ben Yaakov Zev, by Baruch Ian Lila Nishmas, Yaakov Chaim ben Abba, Esther Bas Gittel, Avram ben Shmuel HaKayin, by A.B. Spry for Nachas from children and grandchildren, by Yaakov Yumansky for Hakar Satayv to the Rav and the Zoom family, and Nachas from children and grandchildren, by Ed Saleh from London, and Joshua Rosenberg, a virtual Talmud. We are holding, as we welcome in Saba, wishing Saba continued refuah shalema.
Ben by the Adasa. He's Rahman. Now he got infection.
What's his first name?
Chaim Yisrael.
Chaim Yisrael. Ben Freda Adasa. We welcome in Saba. We welcome in Irving Fishbaum, Mo Kushner. And in the shul, I see over here Michal Avram. I see Ruvain Shanit. Anybody else? No, not yet. And Nachman Chapler, Yisrael Fisher, Barish Gesserman, Shalom Fogel, Rich Lenner, Rabbi Kranz, Baruch Ian, Ruvain Pollack, Yitzi Fuchs, Eddie Chazan, Shimon Deer, Yeshua Shmuel Eisenberg, Elia Shutman, Dr. Guy, Daniel Rosenberg.
Dov Selkowitz is in the hospital.
Who?
Dov Selkowitz.
What's the matter?
He couldn't walk. They rushed him to they brought him to the hospital.
Oh, wow.
But the doctor said you got to go to the hospital.
Wow. Do we know his name?
Dov Bear. I'm not sure.
So we'll learn for Dov Bear. He should have a refuah shalema b'seich she'achel Yisrael. What a good man.
My wife, it's my uncle's yahrzeit tonight.
What's the name?
Rabbi Chaim Toledano.
Rabbi Chaim Toledano. Eddie's uncle. His neshama should have an aliyah. He should be. What?
Thank you, Rav.
He should be a Melitz Yosher for his family, all of us, and all of Klal Yisrael.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so if you remember, we said yesterday that we're trying to figure out. We said that there is a case where if someone is mazik with the excuse me. We said yesterday that if there would be, hold on one second, please. Paul, I'm in the middle of saying shir. Is this something I could do for you?
No, I'm not talking to shir. When should I call you?
I'll call you when I finish saying. I have 2 shiurim tonight, so I'll finish about 10:30. Okay. Okay, as the pause was good, we picked up another 5 people. As Mark Frankel comes in, Michal Akhtar comes in, Avram Rezepkowitz, welcome everybody. Here comes Shelley Zeitlin. Now people are rolling in, rolling. Okay, and Shelley Zeitlin just rolled in. And, okay, so we learned yesterday that if there would be a shtar mechira or edim that the wife sold the property to her husband, then that would be good. But we had a kasha, why don't we say that she didn't mean it, it was just nachas ruach or sisi labali. I just did it to make him feel good. So, and the Gemara says that we know this to be the case, that we say such a thing, because we say that if, let's say, we have our infamous couple, Chatzkel and Sprinza. So if Eddie buys the property from Chatzkel, and then, now that makes sense, because while Chatzkel is married, he has the right of usufruct. So he buys the property for the usufruct, but then he buys it from Sprinza, so that in case she gets divorced or the husband dies, so he wants it then also. So we say that Sprinza didn't really mean to sell it, but rather nachas ruach asisi labali. I just did it so my husband shouldn't be upset. So the Gemara answered, no, that we only say by 3 special fields. As we welcome in Dr. Block, and I see we just joined by David Helfgott as well, we said that it's only by 3 special fields. The field that the wife, it was promised in the ksuva, a field that was designated for ksuva in front of Adam, and fields that were entered in the ksuva as her nichsei tzoin barzel. So the Gemara now opens up 2 lines from the top. Lim'utei mai, when you're saying only those 3 fields, but otherwise if the wife agrees, so then the sale is a sale, what does it come to exclude? Ilay lim'utei shar nechasim, other properties that if the husband sells and she sells it too, we'll say that she said, we'll say that it was a sincere sale. The Gemara says there, for sure she's going to sell it not to anger her husband. Because if she doesn't agree, he'll say, well, what are you holding out because you're expecting to get divorced from me, or that I'll die? I'll predecease you? Kol shekein dahavyulei eva. In such a case, he'll definitely have enmity towards her. Why you're not agreeing because you think I'm going to divorce you and you're going to have the property, or I'm going to die? So of course in those cases, maybe she only agreed not to get him upset. It's coming to exclude her nichsei melug. Nichsei melug, which literally means property that you pluck. Nichsei melug is property that she brings into the marriage and she keeps as her own, which means that the husband doesn't give any guarantee. In pichsu la, if it goes down in value, she suffers the loss. If it goes up in value, she suffers the gain. Such a property, the husband wouldn't be upset if she doesn't agree to sell it, because it's hers. And since it's completely hers, if she says she's selling it, there we could say that she means it sincerely. So the Gemara says, is that so? Ha'amar amemer, ish ve'isha shenachru b'nichsei melug. If both the husband and the wife sell her nichsei melug to Eddie, lo yasav v'lo klum. Now, of course, lo yasav v'lo klum is not literal. Eddie gets it while he's alive, because he bought the usufruct. But it means lo yasav lo klum. It means that if the husband dies, he doesn't get to keep it. So the Gemara says, so you see that even by where she sells her nichsei malug, we say that she's only doing it so as order not to upset her husband. Says the Gemara, no, that's not what it means. Kiyat mar da meimar heicha dezavin ihu umeis. It means if either he or she sells it, lo yasav lo klum, not where they both sell it. Either he or she, as the Gemara now proceeds to explain. Kiyat ma'ahi heicha dezavin ihu umeis. If he alone sold it and then he died, so then she gets it back because he only had the right to sell it, the usufruct. So asya ihi umapka. She comes and takes it. Inami zavna ihi umesa. Now here, Eddie thinks he has a good deal. He bought it from her. Now the idea of buying it from her, he figures that in the event that she predeceases him, Eddie should get it. Because the husband didn't own the gufa karka, and he doesn't have the right of usufruct now, because the whole reason that he has the right of usufruct is because he has to ransom her. But now she's dead. So now Eddie feels that he should get it. Inami zavna ihi umesa? No, Eddie doesn't get it. Asi ihu umapik. Chatzkel can come and take it away from Eddie. The husband comes. Why? Because the husband has a din of a lekeach rishon. The understanding is when he marries her, he has rights to her karka if she dies. Now, she went ahead and sold it to Eddie. But he has a din of a lekeach rishon, of an earlier buyer, and an earlier buyer takes it away from the second buyer. Umapik, v'asa iu umapik, b'takanta de rabbanan. Through a takana that they made in Usha. Remember, Usha was one of the exiles that the Sanhedrin took after it was exiled from the temple. In Usha they enacted if Shprinza sold her nichsei maluk, and she predeceases her husband, the husband could take it away from Eddie because he has a din, like Rashbam says, of a lekeach rishon. But einachanami, if they both sell it, if both Chatzkel sells it and Sprinzer sells it to Eddie, since it's the nichsei muluk, she's not afraid of Ava. Therefore, if she agrees, it's in sincere agreement. Aval heicha de zavinu travayu la'alma, where they both sold it to Eddie. Inami zovna ihi l'didei, or she sold her share to her husband, and then Chatzkel sold it to Eddie. Zvine, it's a good sale. The Iba Yesema, you know what? Amemer argues on what we said yesterday. Amemer holds that even if Chatzkel and Sprinzer both sell it to Eddie, it's not a good sale. Because we're going to see a four-way machlokes, and we're going to see that Rebbe Eliezer holds that you can't sell something if you only have a kinyan aperis, or if you only have a kinyan aguf without a kinyan aperis. So even though both Chatzkel and Sprinzer sold it, neither of them were capable to sell it. Chatzkel because he only had the right of the peris, the usufruct, and she because she only had the right of the karka, but she didn't have the right of the use. And it's the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer that you can't sell something like that. Let's see it inside. Now, in order to understand the next Gemara, I have to introduce you to a rare law. This law doesn't come up very often in Shas. It's an interesting law, but it doesn't come up very often in Shas. The law is as follows. If, let's say, Mark has an Eved Kanani by the name of Tony. Now, Tony, remember, as Mark's Eved has mitzvahs. An Eved Kanani has to have a milah, and he has mitzvahs, and as such, if somebody kills him, they get the death sentence. The din would be that if Mark killed Tony, he would get the death sentence. But there's a special loophole by an Eved Kanani. Normally, if you kill someone and he dies 24 hours later, if Bezdin estimates he died from the blow, the person still gets the death sentence. By an Eved Kanani, there's a special halacha l'Moshe Sinai, im yokum yoymo yomayim. If he stays alive for a day or two, and the reason why it says a day or two is to tell you it could be 24 hours going into from one day to the next. But if Tony stays alive for 24 hours and then dies, Mark is off the hook. But that's only the owner. It's only the owner. If Eddie kills him, even if he lives for 3 days and dies, Eddie gets executed. It's only a special halacha l'Moshe Sinai for the owner. Now, so let's see what happens over here. Says the Gemara, this is the fourth opinion in this four-way machlokes. The Tanya, hamoicher es avdoi. Mark sells his Eved to Dr. Block. Upasak imai, Mark still needs the Eved for 30 days. So Upasak imai, Mark makes up sheyisham shenu shloishim yom, that he's going to use the Eved for the next 30 days and then deliver him to Dr. Block. It's Dr. Block's now. But Mark made up he has the right of use for 30 days. Rameir Aimer Harishon Yeshna B'din Yom Yamayim. If Mark kills him and he lives for 24 hours, Mark doesn't get executed. Why? Because he has the rights of use. And Kinyan Paris, Kinyan Agoftam. Vasheni, but Dr. Block, if he kills him the first 30 days, he doesn't get this special protection. Why? Because he can't use it. Kasavar, that means Rameir holds Kinyan Paris, Kinyan Agoftam. The right that Mark has for 30 days to use it is as if he owns it, and therefore he gets the special dispensation of Yom HaYomayim. Rabbi Yehuda says no. Hasheni yeshna b'din Yom HaYomayim. If Dr. Block kills him, even the first 30 days, he gets the dispensation. Mipnei shu kasboi, because it's already Dr. Block's. Harish she'eina b'din Yom HaYomayim. Mark doesn't get that dispensation. She'eina kasboi, because he has the right to use it, but it's not his. The dispensation is only if it's his. So obviously Rabbi Yehuda holds, because Sabar Kinyan Paris, Lavka Kunyan Agofdami. Rabbi Yaisi gets them both off the hook. Rabbi Yaisi mishnayem yeshna b'din Yom HaYomayim. Both of them get off the hook. Why? Zem ipnei shu tachtav, Mark because he could use it. V'zem ipnei shu kasboi, and Dr. Block because it's his. Why? Because Rabbi Yaisi is mesupik whether Kinyan Paris Kinyan Agofdami or not. And since it's a suffix nefashos la'akel, we don't execute somebody from a suffix. So, and therefore we won't execute Dr. Block or Mark, because suffix nefashos la'akel. Rabbi Eliezer Aimer, we bump them both off. Why? Rabbi Eliezer says it's not yours until it's wholly yours. They both don't get the dispensation. Dr. Block because he can't use it the first 30 days. and mark because it's not his. V'amar Rava, my time with Rabbi Eliezer. What's the reason, Rabbi Eliezer? Amakra lo yukam. The din is we don't avenge him. Ki kaspayu, and it kaspayu means kaspayam loy. It has to be exclusively his. It's not exclusively Mark's because he already sold it to Dr. Black. It's not exclusively Dr. Black's the first 30 days because only Mark can use it. Therefore, neither of them get the dispensation. Abeimar holds like Rebbe Elazar. And therefore, Abeimar says, even where Chatzkel and Sprinzer sell the property to Eddie, it's not a good sale. Chatzkel can't sell it because it's not his. He only has the rights of usufruct. While she can't sell it because even though it's hers, she doesn't have the rights of use. The rights of use is the husband's. And therefore, that's why the sale would not be a good sale according to Ameimah. Now, v'loy le'ish chazaka b'nichsei ishtay. A man does not have a chazaka in the property of his wife. Now, we said why. Because man doesn't have a chazaka in the property of his wife because, of course, he's going to use it. He has the rights of usufruct. So he doesn't have a chazaka. It says to Gemara, but we learned, Rav said not that way. V'amar Rav eishes ish tzricha limchos. A married woman has to protest. According to you, a married woman doesn't have to protest because the husband can't have a chazaka. So, b'man, ilema ba'acher, if it means with someone else, that if Chatzkel and Sprinz are married, and Eddie occupies for the land, her land, for 3 years, she has to protest. But Rav says not that way. V'amar Rav, ein marzikin minichsei eishes ish. You can't have a chazaka by an eishes ish because she'll always say, look, I didn't protest because I thought my husband protested. And therefore, Eddie better keep his shtar. Elalav babal. So you see that if a husband occupies his wife's lands for 3 years, Rav says she does have to protest. Says the Gemara, yeah, but that's talking about a special case. That's talking about where the husband started doing destructive things. He dug pits, trenches, and caves. There, she's not expected to be silent. And if she's silent, it's a good chazaka. That's why she has to protest. Amar Rav la'olam babal, ukigain shechafa b'bayrei shichan umaros. It's talking about we dug pits, trenches, and caves. And we dug pits, trenches, and caves. There you can't expect her, if she didn't sell it, to be quiet. And from the fact that she wasn't meichad, then that means that she sold it to the husband. She sold it to Chatzkel. And that's the case where it says, Rav says, an Eishis has to protest. Says the Gemara, I v'amar Rav Nachman, amar Rav Bavua, ein chazaka l'nizakin. Now the Gemara assumes, what does it mean, ein chazaka l'nizakin? It means that if you did something destructive, that cannot constitute a chazaka because you aren't malzik inche. So if the husband did something destructive for 3 years, that shouldn't prove that it's his. Says the Gemara, no, that's not what it means. Eima ein din chazaka l'nizakin. If you do something destructive, you don't have to wait 3 years. Even right away, if the wife doesn't protest, it's a raya she sold it. Iba yasema. Or else we could say, Lav itmar Allah Ramari Amar. Ramari says, when do we say that there's no chazaka b'nizakin? That means that if, let's say, I have a property and you kept an oven in the property, even if you kept an oven in the property for 3 years and I didn't say anything, you can have a chazaka where it's something that's damaging. That doesn't give you a chazaka, but that's only bekutra, with smoke. Rev Zvid Amar bebeis hakisei, or something smelly like a bathroom. But otherwise, if you do something like Bayra Shichan Omarais, and the owner doesn't protest, then that's a proof that you sold it to them. Rav Yosef says another pshat. Rav Yosef says, really it's talking about where Sprinzer is married to Chatzkel, and it's Eddie that occupied the field. Now we said that if Eddie occupies the field, Rav says, Ein marzikin b'nichsei eishes ish, because she'll say, I thought my husband protested. But says the Gemara, this is a special case. Where is it that she would have to protest? It's talking about where he used it, Eddie used it for a year while Chatzkel was alive. Then Chatzkel died, and Eddie used it for 3 years when she was an almana. And Eddie makes a claim that I bought it from Chatzkel, who bought it from you. In that case, Eddie is believed. You know why Eddie is believed? Because he has a migu. He could have said, I bought it directly from you after your husband died, and you were quiet 3 years. And therefore, since he could have said that and then he would have gotten it, if he said, I bought it from you and you bought it from your husband, he's also believed. Let's see it inside. Rav Yosef Omer la'olam ba'achar. It's talking about where she has to protest when somebody else is occupying the field. Eddie. She used it a year while Chatzkel was Eddie used it a year while Chatzkel was alive. And 3 years after her husband died. So now Eddie could have just simply came and said, look, I bought it from you 3 years ago when you were alone. You can't say you were relying on your husband was dead. And it's 3 years. So I don't have to keep a shtar. So migu di'ibai amal la. He could tell her, Ano zavinta minach, I bought it directly from you. Ki amal nami at zavinta le, you bought it from your husband. V'zavna nihali, and sold it to me. Mehemen, he's believed. Now I just want to go over one prat. Right. Okay, it's good. Just checking something. Okay, Rabbi say, now we're going to stop here, and now we're going to, I did the Mishnah Yomis already. It's already on Torah Anytime. It's already on Facebook and on YouTube, because we're going to do the Chumash here now. So just bear with me a minute as I change the channels here.